Good Sunday evening, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center with severe weather coverage as we are tracking a dangerous situation that's emerging here in parts of Oklahoma, especially right now where we do have an active tornado warning. Reports of a confirmed tornado on the ground there moving towards Chickasha there in toward parts of Oklahoma. So let me go ahead and see what we're talking about here with our other radar source. You can kind of see our velocity values in here indicating at least some really strong winds in this area. We had a report there a moment ago of a tornado causing damage. Let's see if we can pick that up in correlation coefficient. A little bit hard to see right now, but kind of starting things off with that active tornado warning there. Let me go ahead and switch on over to another perspective real quick because we're starting to get some action here all along this line. Let me go ahead and switch on over toward radar scope so you can see what we're talking about here on our other source. So let me go ahead and see if we can switch on over there. You see what we're talking about here with some of this action. Again, seeing that tornado warning there down toward the south. Seeing some severe thunderstorm warning action there moving toward Oklahoma City proper. So not a good situation here for sure. Really seeing things come together. It seems that the parameters are really getting into formidable shape right now here, according to the 0Z sound, and apparently that has come in. It looks like the atmosphere has moistened there near the surface. We're talking about and the lower levels, and talking about the cap is weakened significantly, and shear is pretty strong as well. So a lot of severe parameters coming together for a rare October severe weather threat, a rare October severe weather outbreak, and maybe even a tornado outbreak. So we really have to be just kind of cognizant of what is going on here in this scenario. Definitely watching things very carefully here, indeed. And I'm going to go ahead and switch on back, though, right now. Again, as we're watching the Doppler radar, we're watching this action here. We're going to go ahead and come back on camera as we continue here our coverage again. Don't like seeing that area there, that bend within the radar, and we definitely have a concern here as we're getting toward this area, and we're talking about Caddo and Grady counties right now with this area of rotation. So Weather Service urging people in the Chickasha area to take shelter immediately. Blanchard under this warning too. Just gotta be in shelter. A tornado has been confirmed here, it's been observed, so we really need folks to take action. We'll go ahead and zoom on out a little bit. You see Thunderstorm Warning to the north here, 460-mile-an-hour winds, penny-sized hail as we're getting closer here in toward Canadian County, and then toward the south, some more action really getting going toward Wichita Falls. A bunch of warnings just erupting pretty quick in this scenario here. Things really getting their act together, so I gotta be cognizant of what's happening. A dangerous threat here. Let's go to the overview on our other source right now. I'll show you what's happening. Tornado watch is in play, 2 of them, one until 3Z. That gets us to 10 o'clock Central Time, and another one until 7Z. That gets us there all the way until 2 o'clock a.m. Central Time as more warnings just filtering in. Warnings in toward North Texas even. You saw another one just pop up there as we're getting closer towards some of the different interstates there west of Dallas. So Dallas, I'll have to watch later. Tornado that looks a little lower down there, but just got to be cognizant of the overall scenario that we're dealing with. I'll go ahead and take off our watches right now. And so the moderate risk here, this does not get issued very often from the Storm Prediction Center that goes into Tulsa. This has been expanded some from what I posted early this morning, but just monitoring things so carefully here as the latest information streams on in. You can see our red area, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, McAllister there, all under this 4 out of 5 severe weather risk. And a lot of this risk is for that tornado threat, which is a 15% threat here for these areas. We're just starting to see things get going here. The western side of this, it's going to be a long night ahead here, folks. As I go ahead, move the map over, you see Shawnee there, Ada, Oklahoma, over toward Okmulgee there, Muskogee. You kind of get the idea here, even up toward Tulsa, Hominy, Claremore there, Stillwater, so Oklahoma State and Oklahoma Norman there under this 15% tornado risk. So gotta be careful of both universities, major universities there in the state of Oklahoma. Tulsa also under that as well, of course. But gonna continue to watch things here carefully. So many interest here with this threat. And then you saw that a little lower to the south. I'll pop it back up on the board. This is a 10% tornado risk. That gets into toward Dallas and Tarrant counties. So got to be mindful of that here as well as we're looking toward Fort Worth, toward Grand Prairie, Arlington there. I know I lived there till I was 5, so I'm very familiar with this area here, or at least what it was back then. Has grown a lot, but again, continuing to watch things here as we look toward North Texas. So again, gonna go ahead and look at some other risk. The hail risk a little lower there, but up to the north you see the higher hail risk there toward Oklahoma City. Got to be watching for that threat here as well. And then our wind risk here on the board, you see things that they are more of a linear structure versus supercellular. Could be talking about more in the way of those destructive wind gusts that knock out power versus a tornado. Continuing that warning for Grady County now in Oklahoma. We're talking about weather out toward areas there in Texas and Oklahoma. If you're wondering, no local severe threat, so don't stress out if you're seeing me here in North Florida, South Georgia. We just want to keep everybody up to date on this big national weather story. Could be the biggest threat in October in this part of the country in 20 years for tornadoes this time of year. So just got to be really cognizant of what's going on because you don't see this in October very often here as we're watching the scenario above, as we're watching things come together. The tornado risk, strong tornadoes here. We just talked about the base tornado risk, but I wanted to show you what we're most concerned about is stronger tornadoes, the ones that cause significant damage here. And you might be wondering what I'm talking about in terms of some stronger tornadoes. Well, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our enhanced Vegeta scale to say here what we're talking about with this threat. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up our graphic system now so you guys get an idea of what we're talking about here. We're talking about EF2s plus, potential for some considerable damage here. Even severe damage, a possibility. I know around Christmas there a while back in the Dallas area, we had a significant tornado outbreak. We had fatalities. And this here is an interesting situation. Hopefully it's not that bad, but I know off-season, kind of, or second season severe weather outbreaks, that one kind of comes to mind here. Hopefully things don't get as bad as that night. That was a terrible night there in North Texas. But again, got to be cognizant of what's going on because we could have seen an EF2, EF3 type scenario emerge. Hopefully we don't end up having the parameters that are in play enough for an EF4, EF5, but we're going to continue to watch here as that strong tornado risk is there on the board. So we'll go back on over real quick to our view again. There's your area. We're watching for that danger. Oklahoma there, University of Oklahoma, Oklahoma State University, all under this threat here. So just got to continue to watch this, of course. We're going to continue to monitor the situation as it does evolve here. Let me go ahead and go back on over toward our graphics, our tornado safety tips here. Tornado watch and play, a couple of them. That means conditions are favorable for tornadic activity in close to the watch area. And then we even have that tornado warning there for parts of Oklahoma there that we were just showing you. And in those scenarios, they need to be seeking shelter. Those folks in that area inside a sturdy building, getting as many walls between you and the outside as possible there, depending on if you're watching or if you're relaying this information to relatives, and then protecting yourself from from the flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet. So again, just got to be kind of mindful of what's happening. We'll go back on over to our area here. Let's put a rotation tracker on. It might pull really high, but let me go ahead and see what's happening here. You can definitely see that rotation now within this around Chickasha there in parts of Grady County, Oklahoma. So again, a possible tornado there. We'll be watching. The reason we're on for this type of risk, I know, is because it's like 15% tornado risk, which we do not get very often. Since I've been doing cloud weather the last couple of years here, we've only had a handful of these type of days where we've had a 15% or a 30% tornado risk. So you really got to be cognizant I'll be back here in just a little bit with more information, so stay tuned here. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. If there's any problems with any of the streams, you have other outlets you can go to there for the information. I know YouTube, you can search meteorologist Casey Cloud there for the latest information with the stream there. And then Facebook, you have Casey Cloud WX. That's one account, Cloud Weather, another. So we're on a bunch of different platforms to keep you safe here. If there's any technical issues, again, watching here, some considerable damage polygons in the orange. That means enhanced severe danger. The yellow polygons are base severe danger, so gotta take them seriously. No red polygons for a base tornado warning. But we have had a confirmed tornado a little while ago toward that Grady County, Oklahoma area. Right now, it's not confirmed, but we got to continue to watch here. Got to continue to watch. We'll be back in about 10 minutes with more information, unless we need to break back in earlier. So stay tuned. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here at the bottom of the hour, continuing to watch a major severe threat here as we're looking toward parts of Oklahoma, even Texas too, but especially local Oklahoma here as we go ahead and switch on over. I'm going to go ahead and switch on over right now to our other source. Bear with me here just one moment as we go ahead and pop that on up. We'll go ahead and show you what's happening here. With the radar scope computer, you can see here severe thunderstorm warning now for Oklahoma City. Watching some of the stronger winds coming on into the picture here. So just we got to be kind of careful with this here as we're looking toward parts of central Oklahoma. This goes for Norman as well. No tornado warning there right now, but really strong winds that could cause quite a bit of damage here at least. So just be mindful of that, be cognizant of that. As if we get a little couplet to emerge along this, we could get a quick spin up tornado even with the way the brighter colors are close together, but not actually really intersecting. So something to watch. I know Augusta reported a little while ago in Chickasha, or close to Chickasha there, 82 miles an hour. So got to be kind of cognizant here that this could knock out quite a bit of power. So be charging of those devices here if you're in the path of these storms. As I'll go ahead and come back on camera here, you see this line here of storminess, of nasty weather, of severe weather warnings. A lot of thunderstorm warnings versus tornado warnings right now, which can be a good thing in some ways, but this wind threat is something to be reckoned with. So gotta be cognizant of that here for sure. Let's go ahead and zoom back on in toward this tornado warning here. As we're looking toward Chickasha there, you see that little notch. Don't want to see that, but then we have this thunderstorm warning, even a flash flood warning now for Oklahoma City, for Norman here. So a big deal with this severe weather threat. We're continuing to watch things very carefully here for sure. Getting closer towards some of the interstates and more populated areas here of Oklahoma with this severe weather threat. And we have some warnings that'll maybe be translated off closer toward Tulsa later. We'll just have to wait and see with that. And also keep an eye on Kansas City. I know a big football game going on there. We do have the lightning tracker on, so we'll keep our eyes to see if we get any lightning to emerge. But no real severe threat up that way. But gotta watch for that lightning, which can delay a game. But as we look down toward the south, you can see here down toward Oklahoma. Again, we have a storm watching here toward the east of Ponca City. This does not have a tornado possible tag on it right now, but some strong winds, definitely a possibility. Another thunderstorm warning, you got 3 here in Oklahoma, and then Axon really gets going here close to the Oklahoma City metro. Significant severe thunderstorm warning here in play for parts of Canadian, Cleveland, Grady, McLean, and Oklahoma counties right here. That goes until about 8:15 local time, and then we have that tornado warning probably gone within things here. We're still watching. I know we're watching things carefully. We're going to go ahead and go back on over toward another source that we have here at our disposal. You'll kind of see what's going on here. If we can, we'll show you here our winds on this mode. They're really strong right here with the brighter colors indicating these. As you see around Yukon, they're really getting in some strong winds there. You see Bethany here, some communities. I know if you watch the coverage toward Oklahoma City, the local stations over the years, these are communities that you're very familiar with hearing about, unfortunately, in severe weather coverage. So it's not something they're unaccustomed to dealing with. They are very accustomed to dealing with it, but not this time of year, not in October, not a threat to this level. But we're seeing these strong winds here come toward Oklahoma City right now, getting really tight in here, really watching things. I know MacArthur Boulevard is going to be getting some stronger winds here pretty soon. Meridian Avenue over toward I-44. So these winds are just surging in. I'll kind of step on out a little bit with a shot and then kind of see what we're talking about here. So this action's coming in. You just saw it update live here on the air here on Cloud Weather as we have that technology here from that radar site giving us the latest information here with the wind. And our radar indicating winds aloft here in that 60 to 70 mile an hour range coming on in this mode of the radar. As we go over to storm relative velocity here, seeing something pretty similar. But the thing about this is, if we start getting the greens and reds coming together, I know we've seen this before. If those start to come together, we could get a quick spin-up tornado in the metro, or it could even be a little bit worse than just a quick low-end spin-up. We could have a pretty nasty little spin-up there, pretty nasty spin up here that really is robust. So got to be careful. We've seen that before on off-season threats in toward these areas. So the rotation is kind of weakened toward the south, but it has had a history of producing a tornado. Right now, just a radar indicated warning now toward Grady County, Oklahoma. As we're looking there up toward Guthrie, we're watching some stronger winds in Logan County here in Oklahoma around Crescent. You see that here as well. Some stronger winds trying to reach down to the surface. This is a severe thunderstorm warning here for Kingfisher, as well as Noble, Logan, Payne, and Garfield counties until 8 o'clock local time. So continuing to watch that. The warning here for Oklahoma City, for Moore, for Newcastle, for Norman. That warning here goes until about 8:15 local time. At about 7:23, severe thunderstorms located along a line there extending from, it looks like, 5 miles northeast of El Reno to near the Bridge Creek area to 5 miles northeast there. We've got another community that's involved in this warning. The actions will be east-northeast at about 55 miles an hour. Wind at 60 to 70 will be possible along the line of storms. The most significant hail will be there. It looks like from Amber to Blanchard to Norman. So I know we had a bad hailstorm earlier this year in Norman. Hopefully these parameters here wouldn't necessarily lend themselves to hail of the extreme side, but still it could be damaging hail moving toward Norman here in parts of the OKC metro. So gotta continue to watch this here. We're kind of staying a little longer at this moment because this stuff's really moving into those areas. If anything bad happens, you're going to hear about it quick and you're going to have issues. You're going to have big time problems here. So this is moving right into Oklahoma City, downtown Oklahoma City on a Sunday night here in October. I don't see these threats very often here. Luckily, right now just a one tornado warning, but still winds that can knock out power. Can they knock out power as we're getting some new information in now. Storms there. In the region there toward OKC. They're saying here that the gust front's getting a little ahead of the storm there, and the rotation not as tight, so they're not going to issue a warning for McLean County. So this is not going to be extended right now. It doesn't look like, but they're watching close for any tightening of rotation. I know they're going to be seeing the strong winds there as they move on in. We had a report of a gust of 70 4 miles south of El Reno there in Canadian County at about 7:15 local time. So again, just got to be kind of mindful of this scenario here. Going to be losing some power even if you don't have tornadoes, even if you don't have necessarily the worst case scenario with those strong tornadoes trying to come into play. You could still have problems here for sure. I know tomorrow we'll be watching a threat from St. Louis up towards Chicago. It'll be lower, and another threat coming in the picture for Tuesday is it feels like we're in May, but really we're in October here, and hopefully that'll help limit some of these severe parameters down to the surface. You kind of see that notch there moving out of the tornado warnings, but we're going to be watching very carefully here because you never know what could happen in Oklahoma City, Moore, Norman, Noble here, even as we're getting down the interstate a little bit because things can tighten up quick. Honestly, this stuff looks like it's closer to tightening up here. This is tightening up some. It looks like near Bethany, it looks like Northwest 63rd Street. So got to be kind of cognizant of this. It could just be the way the radar is reading things. I know we have some terminal radars in this area, so we can kind of, I don't like that there either. Again, seeing something maybe trying to tighten right as it gets into Oklahoma City. Let me go ahead and go on over now toward another source that we have. We have some different radars in here. We have a test radar. I don't know if that one will work though, but we do have a terminal radar here, and we can see some areas of rotation a little bit clearer in some ways. At least gives us a little bit different angle here within the overall setup to see things. You can see here some of these brighter colored off the airport radar there in Oklahoma City. So going to be watching here these winds moving on in. You see a little tightening here as we're getting closer toward the metro, but that's not really enough right now, I don't think, to produce a tornado or anything too significant there. But you see the stronger winds as we're on that airport radar. You can see here some of these rainstorms moving on in, thunderstorms. Not so much good on the terminal, but the velocity actually does show up good on there. I know it's a little odd, but the way things work within this, you got to kind of play around with things. You do have a little more rotation on this mode toward Blanchard, though. That's something to watch for sure as we're getting down toward the south. Some wind enhancement east of Bridge Creek, moving toward Newcastle there over the next little bit. So got to continue to watch that. Got to continue to watch the situation here. In fact, I think it might be doing something good if we switch over to the other radar and kind of see how these match up, these signatures. I know I do this a lot off camera, but don't always do this on camera. You see the lightning as well. That's the danger. But this is a national threat for that tornado risk. The reason we're on, and this matches up really well, but the reason we're on is for that national threat with a tornado risk here. And we just want to make sure people are aware of this story because it could become a really big one if we have a bad tornado hitting a community here in toward these areas right now. We've had some issues here and there, but nothing extreme. We had some issues with some damage off toward the west, but from what I've seen so far at least, and granted I haven't been able to check everything while I've been on camera here, we haven't seen anything catastrophic or anything to that nature. I haven't had any PDS warnings, and they are going with a new tornado warning now for that rotation here we're looking at. I thought that might happen, honestly, because we had the gate to gate here. The red winds going away from the radar, winds going toward the radar. So they're going to issue a new tornado warning for Cleveland and McLean County. So this very well may include Norman and the University of Oklahoma. I know those students coming off that big win yesterday against Texas, but I really got to be careful because things can ramp up as we're seeing here quickly. We started to see that cycle again, that rotation northeast of Blanchard, and now a tornado warning coming. We'll go back on over to our other radar source. You can see it. That's a good call there, by the weather service in the Oklahoma City area in Norman there. Gotta be cognizant of what is happening here. Gotta be cognizant of what is happening. We have a new tornado warning coming. I'll come back on camera here in just a second here as we continue to gather new information. We're watching that area up toward the north, but then a new tornado warning to the south here. It doesn't show up good on this mode for some reason. That's why it's always good to use it a couple different radar sources, honestly. But let's check the terminal on this mode because that didn't show up very good on here, honestly, compared to what we were seeing. Because I didn't really see it on this mode as much. But that one warning that's going away there toward Grady County, well, we'll have to have a new warning here for this area as we're getting right there here as I kind of zoom on in. I know looking toward U.S., it looks like 62 there. US 62, northeast of Blanchard, maybe a developing tornado there, and this is something to watch very carefully. I know we're in a terminal. Let's go back to the other radar to see if we can get a direction on this kind of. I know east-northeast kind of what they're going with, but definitely going to have a new tornado warning here for this area. Back this up just a little bit here. You can kind of see how things are moving. That rotation may go on the south side of Norman, just eyeballing it. So if you're under a tornado warning, when this gets issued here in a moment, or if you have relatives toward Norman, toward the University of Oklahoma, you need to give them a heads up here because this is dangerous. You got to respect the polygon. It's just come out, in fact. So let me go back over to the other radar mode now. Even hail picking up a little bit in size. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Blanchard, moving east-northeast at 35 miles an hour. So a new tornado warning now to 8:30 p.m. local time for Cleveland and McLean counties here in Oklahoma. So gotta be careful in this zone. I know we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we're on YouTube. If there's any technical issues, make sure you switch over to our YouTube outlet if you're watching from Twitter maybe, and there's an issue. I know I had to change some things around there, so just want to let you guys know if maybe I'm cutting out something like that. You can go to YouTube, there, search Meteorologist Casey Cloud. You also have Facebook there, facebook.com/Casey Cloud WX, and facebook.com/Clouds Weather. So the new tornado warning on the board now. You can see that does include Norman here, folks. Does include Norman. So gotta be careful here. Gotta be real careful. You see that little path there with the hail, the circulation, probably kind of headed in a direction here where it kind of goes on maybe the south side of Norman here, maybe between Norman and Goldsby here and Norman and Noble. But you got to take shelter into this polygon. Don't mess around because things can change direction even in these scenarios. So don't mess around. You got to respect this polygon. And we have the University of Oklahoma under a tornado warning right now. So all the students there, they got to be taking their tornado precautions because this can ramp up quickly here. A tornado warning now for some very highly populated zones in Oklahoma. Nothing confirmed on the ground right now, but a tornado warning for Cleveland and McLean counties here on October 10th, which honestly is a really bad day in weather history. We were talking about it earlier this morning on Twitter, last week as well. We'll go back over to this warning here in just a moment, but let me go ahead and talk about weather history real quick here because 3 years ago today, I mean, one of the worst weather events to ever strike the U.S. occurred with Hurricane Michael. As we look back here, it is catastrophic Category 5, devastated the Florida Panhandle here, 160-mile-an-hour maximum sustained winds, 919 millibars there, that lowest pressure, really indicative of how dangerous of a storm this was. And just want to see some of that damage even there as we look off toward that area, Panama City, over toward areas there around Tyndall Air Force Base with the trees toward Mexico Beach there. And another side of Mexico Beach as well, just kind of telling that story. So this is a bad day in weather history. Not trying to compare the two scenarios, but just in general, things have not happened that have been very, very good on this day here, just going back a few years ago. Ironic here, unfortunate irony here. Hopefully things are not anything like that. It would take a unthinkable scenario, honestly, to get up to that level, but we still have to be cognizant because isolated areas could have big time problems from a tornado moving on in here. So again, we're going to go ahead and zoom back toward the Oklahoma City metro here as we look here toward parts of Cleveland and McLean counties. A possible tornado. I know there's reports of some damage there toward Amber with a house maybe being impacted. So could have been from winds, straight line winds there, or even a tornado. Not sure, but gotta be careful here. I know sirens sounding now in this area, so gotta be taking those tornado precautions. You're wanting to go ahead and get in that interior room away from windows. If your relatives are students even, maybe you have students or watching from North Florida, South Georgia. Weather's good here. The weather's good here in North Florida and South Georgia, but they are maybe in some danger, possibly. Hopefully things are okay, but you need to go ahead and give them a call. Give them that heads up that a possible tornado could be headed their way here toward the University of Oklahoma here. This is right where we have a lot of things in the Weather Enterprise as well. The Storm Prediction Center, the National Weather Service is there as well, the local one. But again, just got to be really careful. I mean, the folks that issued the moderate risk are literally under, if they're at the building there, probably at least under a tornado warning. So again, got to be careful here. Gotta be careful. You see this circulation here within the radar. You see that circulation here, not that tight on this mode. I'm going to go back to radar scope because it seems like it's picking up on things a little bit better here right now, which obviously actually means things are a little bit worse looking on that mode. But we'll go ahead and go back on over to radar scope right now. We'll pop this on up. You can see what we're talking about here. Again, some circulations, they're not really tight right now, which is good. This is a terminal radar. I'll put this into our looping motion right now to give you guys an idea of what's going on. You can kind of see it though. I was tighter a moment ago. I issued the warning here for a reason, but you can see that spin. It's really well defined there, but things kind of broaden out for now, but it could tighten back up as they get closer to Norman. So gotta be really careful here in Oklahoma because you just never know here in these situations. We don't deal with threats like this in October that often with these type of parameters coming into play. So again, watching the reds here, that means the wind's going away from the radar site, the terminal site there in Oklahoma City. Wind's going toward the radar here. You saw that weakening for now, but gotta continue to watch that. I'll go ahead and come back on camera, show you some of the parameters here that are in play as we switch away from this mode for the time being. This is the only tornado warning right now, at least, and we don't have any destructive severe thunderstorm warnings. I know we have 3 categories of severe thunderstorm warnings. We have the base, the destructive, and the base, the considerable, and the destructive here. Destructive being the worst. Right now we have the first 2, but not the worst level. But we do have an active tornado warning here, as we talked about. And now these parameters that take the tornado watches off. Of course, that moderate risk here, so dangerous, that threat. But parameters here, some of the reasoning behind issuing this moderate risk. These tornado parameters right here in this area are pretty much the highest, at least. You can see getting those significant tornado parameters closer to about 3.5 here within this mode. So definitely seeing that match up with our surface-based cape to some extent here. Don't want to get cape and shear matching up here. This time of year you have your helicity in here as well. So that's problematic obviously here. As we're watching, just got a gust there. Oklahoma City Wiley, the Oklahoma City Wiley sensor, a gust of 57 knots. So some severe winds coming to fruition there. I'm sure we're seeing some power outages. So gotta be cognizant of that. Gotta be cognizant of that here for sure. I think we'll take a quick break here in just a moment, though our hail signatures really is concerning me. They're saying here we could have tennis ball size hail within this warning. So if we miss out on a tornado, which there's a decent chance you could miss out on a tornado occurring, you still have that maybe tennis ball size hail. Unfortunately, that hail threat has been ramping up here over the last few minutes. We just got a report in there of about 1.75 inch hail. They're in diameter 4 miles northeast of Blanchard, and that hail seems to be getting bigger as we're getting closer toward the radar site. So we could be talking about maybe tennis ball size hail, which can be dangerous, can be damaging, obviously. Here you have that coupled with the wind threat, with the tornado threat. And nobody needs to be outside right now. They need to be taking their tornado precautions there. Or if you're watching me right now, you need to be taking your tornado precautions there around Norman. You got to get in that interior room away from windows. Go ahead and maybe cover yourself with pillows and blankets to protect yourself from that potential flying debris. So we're now getting a report here from the Weather Service that there's another mesovortice beginning to form on the east side of Moore now, moving toward Lake Draper. So let's go ahead and kind of give you guys that warning. There's your little circulation. There it is, folks. That's what I was worried about, getting these reds and greens to tighten up. If we can switch back over to the other source here and see what we're talking about. You can see here a moment ago we just had the reds and greens kind of loosely sewn here, but now you see the tightening as we get east of Moore here. You see the reds and greens getting together. Those reds and greens here as we're getting closer toward some of these different roadways here. So it looks like we have a State Road 37 in here. So again, just got to be kind of careful with what's going on. Could prompt a new tornado warning in the north, but hail moving into Norman, that's not good for those cars out there. But right now it's too late to move your cars or do anything with that. You got to be taking your severe weather precautions. That means, again, those tornado precautions are very important. Let me go back on over to our other source. Let's show you some of these tornado safety tips here. If you guys are just maybe tuning into the coverage, because we have a tornado warning for some very, very important and highly populated areas right now. University of Oklahoma under a tornado, hail, and wind threat. Flood threat too right now. So tornado warning means you need to seek shelter inside that sturdy building. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet. So again, we haven't had anything recently confirmed with a tornado, but still we have that hail there. Dangerous, dangerous hail. So go ahead. If you're under tornado warning, you need to seek shelter and take those tornado precautions. So let me go back on over now to our other mode. You can see here the hail showing up maybe 4 inches in diameter here. 4 inches in diameter here. On our software, and I'm going to correlation coefficient now as we try to see what could be going on. Looks like some hail in here, more than a tornado signature right now, at least, which is good and bad. I mean, in terms of the hail threat being so significant, though. But we got to be careful here around Norman, the University of Oklahoma. So many meteorology students here under this tornado warning as well. So we got to get folks into shelter there in this vicinity. I know we had some strong winds, maybe north of the circulation earlier out toward the west, and we're starting to see that again. So we could be hit with some really strong winds there. If you're watching from Norman, maybe winds 70 plus miles an hour. So gotta be cognizant here. Even if you don't have a tornado, maybe winds in excess of 70 miles an hour moving toward Norman. Also, there's a concern for some storms towards Stillwater. That's Oklahoma State University. No tornado warnings up there right now, but a severe thunderstorm warning in play, continuing till 8 o'clock local time. Some strong winds moving closer there. Could end up seeing a better environment for these here to kind of be dangerous and produce that damage. So watching that, watching storms to the south and in the Dallas area. Got to be cognizant now as well. Let me go back over to our area view here regional view, I should say. As we go on over to the source, you can see here severe thunderstorm warnings all the way from northern Oklahoma City to south here of Dallas. It's a pretty wide stretch here, folks. I'll kind of measure on the fly here. We have this line of warning. There might be a few breaks here and there, but going 300 miles or so to the north. So definitely seeing this threat come to fruition. Got to be cognizant of this. You see the worst of the threat right around the Oklahoma City metro and the one tornado warning toward Norman right now. Again, I know I keep repeating it, but it bears repeating. The worst storm right now is going towards some of the more populated areas with the hail threat, with the wind threat. Now, this software is showing quite a bit lower hail, thankfully, and this may be a little more accurate. It generally does a better job here with hail detection, but it's still showing hail over an inch and a half, close to 2 inches in diameter here, moving toward Norman, and that makes a lot of sense. That's damaging hail here, at least. So got to be cognizant of that. Got to be taking those precautions here as we continue to look. I know continuing the tornado warning for Cleveland and McLean counties at 7:55 Central Time there. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located 4 miles northwest of Goldsby, moving east-northeast at about 25 miles an hour. So continuing to watch this. You saw that trim back this now. I know we're watching another area of rotation to the north. You can see that within our rotation tracker. Some rotation to the south here, but more rotation to the north. So we could get a new tornado warning just east of Moore. I know you guys, pretty much anybody's probably heard of Moore here over the years, unfortunately. If they know anything about weather, 2 terrible tornadoes over the years there. Right now, at least, as I go ahead and pop up a radar, looks like they're going to dodge the bullet in terms of something like that here tonight. We weren't maybe expecting anything to that level with the parameters of EF4, EF5, but still, EF2, EF3 could be very significant. Granted, we don't know what could happen exactly with those, so I don't want to be throwing around numbers like that, but again, just continuing to watch things here in this fall scenario with severe weather here tonight. I know mobile homes, especially a dangerous place to be. We're at about 7:57 Central Time right now. Going to take a quick break, be back in just a couple minutes as we continue to keep you safe and informed. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here at the top of the hour, continuing our severe weather coverage as we do have this line of storms here. Is Roy something to watch as we're looking toward North Texas, toward parts of Oklahoma here as well. Tornado warning continues for Cleveland and McLean counties right now. We have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings to the south. Got to be watching to see how things may uptick there in their intensity over the next little bit. I will go ahead and pull up our risk area, which just got updated literally right before I came on from the Storm Prediction Center. You can see here that red area indicative of a 4 out of 5 risk here still within this scenario. Still areas there like Ada, McAllister, Muskogee, and Tulsa under this risk here, so gotta be cognizant of that. Definitely monitoring the situation for these folks. You see Dallas, Sherman, Paris, Fayetteville, Arkansas, even under a 10% tornado risk. And then our large tornado risk there is still one that has time to come to fruition. We have not had any strong tornadoes yet, but gotta be cognizant of this potential here for sure, as we do have this danger here that's ongoing. We're going to continue to watch things very carefully. You see our helicity here that's going on in this area. That's one view of it. Another view doesn't show it quite as well, though, based on a different way we're looking at things and energy. You see here our tornado parameters really high, even higher toward the south, but you have to have some of the different parameters to kind of overlap here, and you have to have storm mode in your favor, or not in your favor in terms of dangerous tornado development, depending on how you're hearing and looking at things here. But again, we are now getting reports. It looks like a broken windows there around Porter, Maine, and Norman. So probably from hail damage, I would think. Could be the wind damage too, but probably from some hail damage there, based on what we were seeing within the radar algorithms. Getting different reports of hail in Norman now. So that University of Oklahoma area being pounded here tonight. Very important situation for these folks to stay safe from. You see our hail trackers showing the hail there. Just had a gust there of 56 miles an hour there on the east side of Duncan. So just got to be kind of watchful of what's happening in terms of things overall. We'll go ahead and zoom back on out now. You see Shawnee now. You see Shawnee out toward the east there. They could be the next in line here for some of the worst of the action here as we're looking in toward parts of Oklahoma. So again, definitely a dangerous night. We'll go back up here on our other radar source right now as we're watching things. I know the wind's pretty strong there around Norman. We'll go ahead and see if we can kind of click on this source now. You can see what's happening there with some of these stronger winds within our velocity signatures. They're being detected here by the radar. So seeing exactly what could happen from our TXL radar site there, the KTXL radar site there in parts of Oklahoma. We're going to go ahead and kind of back this up just a little. You can really see that dark reflectivity there within the values. That indicates hail, indicates maybe some damage in hail. And our correlation coefficient here, waiting for that to update here for us. And definitely trying to see maybe some of that trying to mix on in. We're pretty close to the radar, but still trying to be seeing some of that to mix in, indicative of some of that hail. I would do a tornado warning still, but I think some of our other threats here look a little more prominent right now, hail and wind in this area. So again, going to go ahead and zoom back on out. This is right there near, if you've ever driven here, Interstate 35. This goes, of course, from north to south. The interstate here taking you from east to west, I-40. Got to be kind of just mindful here of some of those different landmarks. I know there's reports now that maybe some of that area of action toward Montague and Jack counties in North Texas is starting to develop some embedded circulations, so got to be careful there. Another report in now, one in tail 3/4 of a mile west of the OU Stadium 7 minutes ago. So that hail may not quite as significant, but still can be dangerous, obviously, here. Still can be nasty. They are definitely seeing things come together there. In this scenario, we're going to see if we get a new tornado warning over toward Pottawatomie County over the next little bit or not. But I know that hail threat has come to fruition toward Norman, toward the University of Oklahoma here. So much interest in the weather community for that area. As you see, Oklahoma City, and let's not forget about them. They have had this line come through, but not as significant. You haven't seen that purple necessarily within the radar algorithms, but Oklahoma City there, definitely seeing some heavier rain. Valley Brook more and some stronger winds there over the last little bit as we kind of get the latest update there on the radar imagery. You see maybe something trying to reemerge in terms of circulation here, southeast of Hall Park maybe. So something to watch there, maybe something closer to Ward. It looks like I-240 there. So we'll have to watch. Nothing extreme, nothing that says strong tornado or large tornado right now, which is obviously a good thing considering the rest we're dealing with, but still some other hazards that are going to be causing damage and some issues here definitely on the board. So again, continuing to watch things. It seems force is getting past Norman right now, so I know we have that moderate risk though still in play, but I think we'll go ahead and take a break in the coverage for now as we continue to gather new information with no tornado on the ground at the moment. We're just going to go ahead and give you a quick overview here of this situation though before we wrap this cut-in up and be back here at the bottom of the hour again, unless something warns me to come on sooner. But you see here that red area is a 4 out of 5 severe weather risk here as we're looking toward parts of Oklahoma. That is for especially that tornado threat, but even a wind threat here is pretty prominent as well. You see those there on the board. You see what we're talking about here. You see that we do have a bunch of warning, 300 miles from north to south. Looks like now maybe a report of baseball-sized hail in Norman, and that's why we're getting damage to windshields, windows being busted out, things like that. So unfortunately, seeing that to come to fruition in terms of the hail threat, that's only a 30% threat, but it's still significant as we do have that significant hail risk here on the board right toward OKC and toward Norman here, though. OKC, they're starting to get the accent to move on through, but watching that there for sure. Let me go back on over to the watch. You do see the tornado watches. There's 2 of them. Let me go ahead and outline these. One to the north that goes here. This one goes until it looks like about 10 o'clock Central Time. The one to the south going here until it looks like they kind of center this out just a little bit better. The bottom one goes into 2 a.m. Central Time, and things are kind of forming down there toward the south. So continuing to watch things here in the Weather Center. We'll continue to track things. I know we have that tornado risk there. There's a damaging wind risk, a hail risk, even a flash flood risk as well, especially in those more urban areas. So things are pretty progressive with the movement here. I'm just going to keep on watching things for sure. Keep on tracking things in the Weather Center. See a warning even into Kansas right now. So that's something to kind of monitor too. So stay tuned. Be back here at the bottom of the hour with more, unless of course there's something like a tornado emergency or something that really ramps up where I need to break back in sooner. As we're watching toward Dallas as well, that storming is moving east at 50, so gonna have to watch the DFW Metro. Some of those leaving that Cowboys game here earlier on may still be even lingering around, so they need to be kind of cognizant of what's going on with the storms moving in from the west as well. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour, continuing to watch things very carefully here. I know I'm looking down toward Dallas right now because we're starting to see some things getting closer toward the Metroplex there, so something to kind of deal with there for sure. In fact, I do have our Fort Worth, Dallas radar up right now, so let me go ahead and tell you what's happening over there. We'll pop up our radar scope computer. You'll kind of get an idea what is going on with some of the stronger winds here in this vicinity. Definitely seeing some wind enhancement out toward Weatherford, out toward some of these other communities there as well. You see Owsley, they'll be getting into some of the worst of this here in the next little bit as well. So just got to be kind of careful as this accident moves on in here over the next hour or so. The DFW metro area could get hit by some pretty strong winds, maybe even seeing some areas of rotation try to intensify just a little bit here with along this line as well, along this line. So got to be kind of careful. We have these reds here going away from the radar, the greens toward the radar, and we could always get something to kind of spin up along this. Could get a couple of here. I mean, things are trying, looks like here, a little bit, but we can sometimes get these brighter colors here to kind of come closer. You can get your darker reds here to come closer, and maybe something to try to spin on up there. So you got to be kind of careful here in this vicinity along this line. I know we have so many warnings in play, so I'll go ahead and continue to watch this accident here down toward the south, of course, continuing to monitor things there. But we also have some issues, I know, to deal with in other spots too. These warnings here for that considerable damage potential, obviously, but we're watching toward Oklahoma. We have a new tornado warning that came out a few minutes ago. I was showing that to you on our screen, streaming that radar in between the updates. Of course, we did have a debris signature popping on out. Rural area there north of Hera, but still seeing some action there. You saw how things really came together real quick there. One of our stronger signatures, rural area, but still we got a debris signature in there on this. This will be the latest scan once it comes up. You don't want to see that now, but earlier we did have a little bit of a debris signature there trying to pop on up. It's really small, but still nonetheless. I'll zoom into that. That's what we're talking about, that little yellow area, but still going to continue to watch things. Right now, things have not really been too dangerous in terms of that tornado threat, but the hail significant around Norman, reports of baseball-sized hail there, so definitely problematic for those folks. You see down toward the south here, we have some strong severe storms moving towards Shawnee, storms here in southern Oklahoma as well. So just got to keep watching even up toward Tulsa. Things right now for Tulsa look a little bit better at the moment, but they can change really quickly here. Real quick, I mean, we could get some intensification with some of the acts moving in that general direction here toward the Tulsa metro area. So just got to keep watching that, obviously. Continuing to get the latest information in. I know we're just checking all of our different sources here on this Sunday night. I know sometimes we lose a few frames and we have so many different things to look at here. But again, I'll be watching so many different areas of interest here with our weather scenario. And I know this is something out toward areas of Texas and Oklahoma, not affecting our weather here in terms of any inclement impacts, but still, it's got to be cognizant as we're looking here right now. So the thunderstorm warnings for areas just east of Mineral Wells. So we're talking about Montague, Wise, Jack, Parker, Palo Pinto, as well as Cook and Hood counties there as well under this. And then we have another warning in the north that includes at least parts of Wise, Jack, and Parker counties. That's severe thunderstorm warnings with that damage potential being in that considerable range, not destructive, but maybe considerable at least. And that action's moving toward the Dallas metro. So gotta be cognizant. You see Denton there. You see Arlington even. Grand Prairie's in here obviously as well. Dallas. So many different communities here. This action's moving off toward the east-northeast. It looks like they're saying east on this cell, but I know depending on where you're at, it kind of changes a little bit, but probably east-northeast here within this axis overall. So going to continue to watch exactly what's going on here in this scenario. Obviously, we're looking at all this. Nothing that's really overwhelming, honestly. If we didn't have the type of risk that we had, I probably wouldn't be on right now, but that doesn't mean it's not a big local story out toward North Texas, out toward that Dallas TV market, out toward the Oklahoma City TV market. But just not seeing anything that's overwhelming right now. Got to be watching up toward Kansas City. I know not severe weather, but weather delay. Could be seeing something like that here, as we do have a lot of lightning on the board that's heading in the general direction of Arrowhead there. So got to be cognizant of that. Got to be cognizant of that for sure as we're looking up toward the north. But right now, nothing overwhelming, at least. I mean, the worst things we've probably heard so far is that hail damage around Norman, around the University of Oklahoma there. Could end up seeing an enhanced wind threat down toward the south. Dallas probably is our bigger concern based on population and the threat right now, because of the way things could come together down here toward North Texas, toward that TV market and that population density. So got to be kind of cognizant here around Fort Worth and Arlington. You see Forest Hill, Benbrook, North Richland Hills in here, Euless. You kind of get the idea. I know, gonna keep watching this accent right now. It's closer toward Weatherford, up you saw Agnes in here, Bridgeport. Gonna be watching how some of this kind of matriculates on off toward the areas in the Metroplex. So again, gonna continue to track things. We'll take another break because right now we're not seeing a whole bunch. Local stories for sure, but not really writing that significant national storyline here for the most part. But we're gonna keep watching. Some power outages being reported, so always important. And DFW Metro, go ahead and charge those devices up. You could lose power even if you don't have a tornado. There's still a chance we could get some increased spin here based on, I know our low-level jet here is going to be something to keep an eye on. So just stay tuned here. I'll be back at the top of the hour unless we need to break back in earlier. Stick with me here from the Weather Center as we continue to watch this big national severe threat. I know we've seen a lower threat towards St. Louis, Chicago tomorrow, that general vicinity. Then on Tuesday, another threat emerges maybe a little off to the west of this. Here, western Oklahoma, western Kansas, maybe somewhere in that general vicinity, but it's still a little too early to get down into the specifics on that. So unusual to see. I know our temperature, haven't really shown this to you here, but I know this is something that we're dealing with. You see that temperature contrast here. You see 80s toward the east of this line, 50s toward the west. I know these unseasonably warm temperatures are really helping to add fuel here to the fire. I mean, you see in North Texas closer to 90 even, and then temperatures out toward Lubbock in the 50s. So that temperature contrast playing a big role here in this scenario with all the other parameters just kind of coming together here on this Sunday night in October. Stay tuned, everybody. We're back here at about 9 o'clock Central Time. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here at the top of the hour, continuing our coverage here of this major severe threat. It's moderate risk, something you don't see very often in the month of October here as we're looking out toward Texas, toward Oklahoma. See tornado watches, some tornado warnings in the red, radar indicated, and the purple one actually is for a confirmed tornado now. Really ramped up quick here. Got a debris signature actually right before the tornado warning was issued as things came together. The circulation looks pretty impressive, so we got to be careful with this. This could be one of the stronger tornadoes we see here tonight as we're looking toward the community of Johnson here in Oklahoma. You see the reds and the blues kind of indicative of even stronger winds. And then we had a debris signature a moment ago, and in our latest scan or update, and you see even a more robust debris signature now here near the community of Johnson. They're not calling this a large tornado yet, but or a strong tornado necessarily, but that could change here at a moment's notice. This is a tornado warning here for northwestern Seminole, southeastern Lincoln, and northeastern Pottawatomie counties here until 9:30 Central Time. So a confirmed tornado on the ground here in parts of Oklahoma. We're talking about areas here near Johnson, tornado occurring there right now. So we're just going to go ahead and monitor the situation as we zoom on out a little bit. We have another tornado warning in the north. That's not as impressive, and we'll watch for other action to try to get closer to Tulsa. We'll see how things hold up. It's kind of hard to say exactly what's going to happen as we look toward northeastern Oklahoma at this point, but I know I am more concerned down toward Dallas because the storms are at least going to be moving on in here over the next little bit, and they have had a history of some issues, though. I will say that these are only base severe thunderstorm warnings, not for considerable damage necessarily. So that's a good thing. But we do have some parameters that are pretty impressive within our source. So let me go ahead and pop up our mesofield. You already see our significant tornado parameters here. They are impressive, and getting that to kind of mix in some that these aren't aligned, which is going to be a limiting factor. We could get some spin here with some of this accident. I know reports of significant damage to a barn there, Oklahoma, stuff like that you'll hear, of course. Looks like debris up to 6,000 feet now as we're getting a view there from the Tulsa, or no, actually, okay, this would be the Oklahoma City radar. Maybe unloading debris right now, according to a meteorologist in Tulsa. So gotta be kind of cognizant of what's going on with this. Let me go ahead and pop that up. Let's go ahead and pop that up. Maybe what that might mean is I'm gonna look at it before I say it, but may not have an update quite yet on this. But the last scan here, oh, there we go. Okay, so that scan, it kind of looks like I might have had a tornado touch down and maybe it slipped it for the moment, but that didn't mean it couldn't touch back down here. A tornado warning in play in parts of Oklahoma here. That spin, I know that broad spin kind of reminds me of a storm we had in southwest Georgia earlier this year. Kind of ramped up quick there and caused some issues with the debris signature, but then spun back down there pretty quick overall. But we got to watch here in this line. We have the community of Prague there. We have that area, a possible tornado in this area. Had a confirmed tornado a moment ago. So 2 tornado warnings on the board. One red polygon, not confirmation on that one, but the tornado warning to 9:30 local time for Lincoln County, and then another tornado warning to 9:30 that includes parts of Lincoln County, but also parts of Pottawatomie and Seminole counties here in Oklahoma. So I'm going to keep watching this situation. I think I want to go down to the Dallas radar. I was going to switch a little earlier, but wanted to stick on that because of that debris signature. But now we'll go ahead and actually switch down to the south toward Tarrant and Dallas counties because we got to watch to see, because this is a really highly populated, high population density area we're talking about here. As we get down toward the south, you can see here that this red and green, not necessarily indicative of too strong of winds, as we're just talking about base warnings, but if the red and greens come together, then we could have a situation. We have a quick spin up. You see a TVS popping up just there on this mode. So let's go ahead and look over there. That could just be the way the radar's reading things with some interference maybe, but I know they're now talking about a smaller severe thunderstorm warning, now going to have one with a considerable tag and a tornado possible tag for parts of Denton there and Collin counties. So we're talking about Denton and Collin now, an elevated threat it looks like. So we're going to go ahead and look up toward the north here a little bit. You see McKinney, we got to watch because there's some interesting signatures within the radar now. Maybe some higher wind damage potential here, according to the Weather Service in Fort Worth. So, again, continuing to watch the situation very carefully. No tornado warnings in the state of Texas right now. There's 2 in Oklahoma we've talked about, but got to be watching the metro because we have Fort Worth here. We have Dallas, Arlington, Grand Prairie, all these different areas here for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and monitor things carefully. Let's check to see if there's any type of debris signature. You could have a little something up here, but I don't know if that matches up well or not. Kind of getting interference on the radar, so hard to say, but it's got to be kind of careful here in this area. I know we have some terminal radars we can use, the things that kind of deal with this in terms of terminal radars. They can be helpful because when we're in higher populated areas, of course, there's more concern, more interest, but we also have generally, when we get into the real big areas like Oklahoma City and Dallas, you have the terminal radars, which can give us a different view here, a different look under the hood, per se, of the storminess. So, different x-ray, I guess you could say, and you have another x-ray. This is from the Love Field radar, I know, kind of getting an idea of some of these stronger winds there. And you can kind of see here, let's go ahead and pop up our other radar. This will be the Dallas-Fort Worth terminal one there, just to the east of Louisville. You'll be able to see here some of the winds as well. Again, Denton, Collin. I think this might be why they went with it, because we're seeing such brighter colors here within the terminal radars even. That could indicate some of these stronger winds getting down to the surface here. As we're looking, I mean, that's closer to 70 as we're looking south of Justin. We're going to have to watch, you see, around Haslett there, even Keller. I mean, this is showing winds even stronger. Granted, that might not be reaching the surface there, but it's possible that it could, depending on how we're looking at things. I mean, there could be some rotation emerging, so there's a tornado possible tag now. Could be seeing that southwest of Sainer there, not far from Sainer. Got to keep in mind where the cities look on the map, they might not actually be isolated, confined to that little spot. It could be spread out, so it could be talking about the city limits here, one of these areas here or there, but got to be kind of watching here. Got to be kind of watching in toward this area. Denton, Albury, Pilot Point, Melissa. We have Prosper there, Gunner. These are all under that more dangerous severe thunderstorm warning we're talking about here as we look off the terminal radar. So, again, continuing to watch things very carefully there. Going to go ahead and show you a different viewpoint of this because this will actually show the warning with a different color. You can see the orange there on the map, indicative of that warning there. We had the considerable danger, of course, the tornado on the ground there a while ago as we were looking toward Johnson in Oklahoma. Continuing to watch some different things here to the north. We'll see how things look for Tulsa in a little bit. Still uncertain on that as we look at some of our parameters. They're not extending as far up here in some aspects, but we still have the 4 out of 5 risk, which, I mean, even if necessarily things aren't showing that they're dangerous, you can never take a moderate risk lightly here, folks, because that's the second highest risk that the Storm Prediction Center uses. They included themselves. They're based out of Norman. So, I mean, talking about the Storm Prediction Center, the National Weather Center there, National Weather Service in Norman. Something that they're kind of accustomed to watching here with these scenarios, and we've got to be careful with the 4 out of 5 risk. And now, that debris signature with that storm there, diffuse now. The tornadoes either weakened or ended, but it's still west of Ofuskie County right now, so that's some good news. We'll see if a tornado warning is required for them here in the next little bit. But you see around Prague, I guess you could pronounce that a couple of different ways here in this area. But again, watching things carefully, watching our satellite imagery as well. This can be helpful in these situations because you can see where some of the worst of the weather is in terms of the colder cloud tops. You see some of that to the south. You also see to the north here in Oklahoma, getting that, of course, in toward Kansas, where we're watching for that Buffalo-Kansas City game, weather concerns there. We have to be mindful that this will be not maybe severe weather up there, but still lightning danger when thunder roars. Got to go indoors up there toward Arrowhead Stadium there. But again, as we look down toward the south, we'll go ahead and look here toward parts of Oklahoma. Flash flood warning still in play, but luckily there wasn't too much flooding really reported toward OKC, which is great news, obviously. We're continuing to watch these areas of wind circulation on this Sunday night. Watching toward Dallas County, Tarrant County here. a 60-mile-an-hour gust reported recently in Parker County. So some of these winds are getting down toward the surface, at least a little bit here, down toward the south. So gonna keep watching this. Lightning here, you see this line, we talked about it earlier, but latest update here, warnings extend about 330 miles or so, almost continuous warning line here from central Texas all the way into northern Oklahoma with thunderstorm warnings in place. So even though the tornado threat maybe isn't really being too robust, you can still get something to kind of emerge here, spin up. So we'll continue to watch here. Oklahoma City Metro, though, is getting removed from the tornado watch, which is great news for them. But got areas around Dallas, Tulsa to watch, even Fayetteville later on in Arkansas. So stay tuned. Be back here at, it looks like, about the bottom of the hour. Frostbite warning's getting canceled too. So I'm going to keep on watching here with the wind shear around to see how things come to fruition. The different parameters, I know, getting some gusty winds now reaching the surface in Okmulgee there. So as they're spreading north, we'll keep track of that. Be back here at about 30 past the hour. That's 9:30 Central if you're watching from North Florida, South Georgia, where I generally cover. Of course, that's 10:30 Eastern. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour, continuing to watch our weather situation here. We do have a tornado warning south of Dallas now. It's just popping up on the board here near Cleburne. So maybe a quick debris signature in there even. This is for Johnson County, though. As we're looking here, a possible tornado in that vicinity until 10 o'clock. This warning does go, so got to watch this thread as it does track off toward the east, but there is a little bit of northerly component here as well. Severe thunderstorm warning including Tarrant and Dallas counties there around Arlington and Dallas, and then considerable severe thunderstorm warning around Denton, maybe some stronger winds in there. You see Ada, Oklahoma, some wind and rain down to the south. And a tornado warning here, a new one just got issued for parts of Creek and Ofuskie counties. So got to be watching that. Hopefully this will stay to the south of Tulsa, but we'll see. We'll see how things kind of progress here. We've seen more of a northerly component with some of this here, it seems like anyway, over the last little bit. So got to be kind of mindful of that. And there is a new tornado watch here in play going for Joplin, for Fayetteville now. This goes until it looks like about 2 o'clock Central Time. So got to be kind of watching that here as the threat does spread off toward the east and the north some as well. I know weather delay up toward Kansas City, not severe weather necessarily, but lightning's dangerous, obviously. Some different rounds of nasty weather moving on in to KC there. So got to be mindful of that. OKC, though, they're out of the threat. Really no tornado watch anymore there. We're going to be watching down toward Dallas. I know. Still seeing a persistent rotation down toward Cleburne there. So let me go ahead and pop that on up here. You can kind of see what we're talking about on our other mode to some extent at least. We'll kind of zoom on in a little bit to make sure we can get that for you. But you do see a little bit of rotation there in Johnson County to back this up. You can see how the winds between the reds and the greens are kind of coming together. We'll go ahead and pop the correlation coefficient up. You saw something in the west earlier, maybe a little bit of something there, not far from Cleburne there. So got to be careful there in or Johnson County. So again, tornado warning does continue until about 10 o'clock local time. A tornado warning again in Oklahoma for parts of Creek and Ofuskie counties there until 10:15 local time. Now, we do have the tornado watches going pretty far south here. And then even a little bit of Kansas and Missouri and Arkansas. We'll watch that threat obviously here as we go ahead and switch to our other source now. I do want to kind of give you a programming note now. Granted, the threat could still escalate here. Not kind of issuing all clear by any stretch of the imagination. It's very important to have multiple ways to get alerts. But right now I'm planning to wrap the cover at the top of the hour here once these storms get past Dallas. But we'll reassess to see if Tulsa maybe will require me to come on for a little more coverage to stay past that. Of course, we'll go ahead and break in if we have something like a tornado emergency later on. I'll be here in the Weather Center watching, but the threat right now in terms of what we've been seeing, not necessarily indicative of me needing to stay on for that national level concern, but still it's a very important situation to follow on the local level. So we're going to be watching those threats here in the Weather Center. But again, if there is something that rises to that national level of concern like a tornado emergency, we'll stay on there with some coverage if that happens the next little bit. Hopefully not, but we'll also stay on here if Tulsa Roy is going to be hammered here by some of this action, depending on the ultimate movement here. It's a little tricky, so I know we're going to be watching these threats, the parameters here in play as things kind of try to surge up to the north here. We'll see if it's a tornado situation or not. If we think Tulsa could be impacted a little more here, maybe stay on to the bottom of the next hour, 10:30 Central Time, 11:30 Eastern, something like that. But just kind of giving that program note there as we're watching things carefully. Possible tornado here in Creek to Ofuskie counties. That general vicinity right now. You see the lightning here on the board. See the lightning here, a tornado warning in Johnson County, Texas. I know Johnson County, Oklahoma. Looks like a tornado may have touched down there based on some reports. So kind of distinguish that for you a little bit here as we continue to watch things very carefully. Continue to watch the situation here. I know Fort Worth getting into some of the worst right now. So let me go ahead and pop up our GR level 3 computer here. You'll be able to see what's going on with this and kind of get an idea here of the heavy rain moving on in. Maybe some stronger winds mixing down to the surface as well. Not seeing a lot of that. This is just a base severe thunderstorm warning for Fort Worth, Arlington, Irvin, Dallas, Richardson, Allen, Duncanville. You kind of get the idea, but we'll continue to watch the situation. A little more concerned to the north here as we get toward parts of Denton and Collin counties. So I'm going to be watching here, seeing some weird orientation within some of this axis here. So it's kind of interesting to watch the movement here and how the storms kind of spin. I know a lot of these are more north to south in some ways here. So we'll just kind of be watching to see how things ultimately spin up or not spin up. But again, continuing to watch here some of this action right now, kind of in between OKC and Tulsa in Oklahoma, but moving into Dallas right now, but the worst to the north and to the south. So I know some of the worst weather we saw was there. The action toward Norman earlier because they had some very large hail there. I've seen a lot of hail in areas generally, but still got to be cognizant. I see we just got a new warning now until 10:30 Central Time, including parts of Tulsa County there. So Okmulgee County, Opusky County, McIntosh, and Creek. So going to be seeing how that's polygon situated. It'll pop up in just a second here live on the air. You'll see that pop up here very soon as we look off toward the Tulsa area. So we're going to be watching that. And you see actually the worst kind of keeping this just to the south of downtown Tulsa maybe, but I mean Tulsa city limits probably in here. Yeah, they are based on this polygon. 70-mile-an-hour winds, nickel size hail. Considerable damage threat here from just really on the south side of Tulsa down toward the south. So we'll continue to watch here. I know what this is talking about now. To the south, they're saying that circulation in Johnson County may cross I-35 west near Alvarado in a few minutes. It's currently near Keene right now. So got to watch that carefully here toward Johnson County, Texas. I know damage in Johnson County, Oklahoma. A tornado warning though active right now in Johnson County, Texas. Pretty far apart, but continuing to watch things, continuing to watch, excuse me, tornado warning for Creek and Opusky counties in Oklahoma. I know gustier winds spreading north to the Tulsa airport now, so there's some better info for the storms according to the chat session here. So again, going to continue to watch things very carefully to see how things kind of emerge here. This threat will be one where you need to have multiple ways to get alerts, even if not on, to still have a local threat here for some of these communities. If we have a tornado emergency, again, it'll break in, but still, you got to have that alert method because it may take a few minutes to come on for a tornado emergency. By then, we're already having some big time problems. You need to be taking action for any tornado warning, and even severe thunderstorm warnings, you got to be cognizant of, as well as flash flood warnings. So maybe not a situation here where we're having to kind of stay on here really late for long form coverage, but maybe something have to break back in for. So just want to make sure you guys know that here is just got a gust there. New warning coming for areas north of I-20 toward the Metroplex there. I know we just got a report of a gust of 61 knots. One of the airports here in this area, so maybe some stronger winds translating down. Got to watch out for that power outage concern, obviously, towards some of these spots. We'll try to get you some of those numbers here in a little bit. I'll be back at the top of the hour unless we need to break back in sooner. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the top of the hour to continue our coverage. We're looking here at the weather situation right now. Many severe thunderstorm warnings in play from Oklahoma down into Texas. So something to kind of be mindful of for sure. We're going to go ahead now and look on over at our radar scope computer because I do see some storminess there around Dallas and Carrollton. That's worth looking at and a little more closer examination. So let's go ahead and pop that source up right now. You'll see what I'm talking about over here at University Park. I know just going to continue to be monitoring the situation there for sure as the situation does evolve here over the next little bit. You see even down towards Cedar Hill there getting into some pretty nasty weather in that general vicinity. So something they're definitely watching here very carefully. We're going to be seeing how this progresses. I know we had a gust of 70 earlier there at the airport. This warning here does continue for Rockwall, as well as Hunt, northwestern Kaufman, southeastern Denton, southeastern Tarrant, Collin, as well as Dallas, Grayson, and Fanning counties here until 10:45 Central Time. So at least parts of those counties involved under this warning. So got to be kind of mindful of that as we come back on camera now to see that overview real quick. I also have some power outages to kind of touch on. So let me go ahead and go on over to our Texas power outage map because the numbers are increasing here. People are losing power. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here toward the Lone Star State. You do see here toward North Texas, we have some outages. Johnson County, Hood County there, as well as Parker County, Palo Pinto County, Jack County there, Wise, over toward Denton, Little and Collin, and Dallas and Tarrant. The percentage is lower maybe, but you have over 10,000 out in East County right now, and we could get some more outages toward Dallas County. I know we are now getting a warning for parts of Hill and Ellis counties for circulation there developing an embedded supercell structure with a slightly greater threat. So got to be kind of mindful of what can happen from that standpoint as we're watching things in that area down a little bit further toward the south. So let me go ahead and come back on camera. I know we're getting some information into the chat, some more information streaming on in here tonight. We're watching things carefully. I do want to go down to Texas here on our other source right now because of that new tornado warning coming toward the south of Dallas, and that just came out in fact. So let me go ahead and punch this up. We'll go ahead and see what's going on here on this other source. So that circulation they're developing not far from Grandview. We'll go ahead and show you here our gate-to-gate emerging here. Waxahachie, Ennis under this tornado warning here. So gotta be kind of cognizant of what's going on. And with this warning, I think I'm just gonna play it safe here and go here until the 30 past the hour with this coverage with the stream going because this is here not too far from the DFW Metro in the TV market here. So I just want to make sure we don't get something to really emerge and get a debris signature and have to jump back on in a hurry. So with something like this emerging here, I think we're going to stay on until the bottom of the hour here with the coverage, with the stream. We'll take a break, of course, in between. But again, watching a new tornado warning now for parts of Ellis Hill and Johnson counties here until about 10:30 Central Time. At 10:02, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located near Grandview, or 14 miles southeast of Alvarado, moving northeast of 50. Now we're getting reports in Oklahoma. Some damage there west of Ada. Looks like law enforcement reported about 30 feet of a wall there from a business gone found on the highway. So not what you want to hear. Some wind damage for sure, maybe even tornado damage there. Looks like a new tornado warning coming now for northern Okmulgee County, and that's going to get into southern Tulsa County. So definitely seeing some things heating up. Once again, we were down to no tornado warnings for a few minutes there, and now circulation emerging as we get closer to the north. Let me go to the Tulsa radar, in fact, here to give you guys an idea of what's going on in this vicinity. Watching things carefully here. This warning is going to go into southern Tulsa, so it's areas down to the south we're talking about. I know there's a little bit of some wind enhancement to the north, but to the south now, a new tornado warning coming as well. So gotta be kind of mindful of that threat here. And this is now for Okmulgee, Tulsa, and Wagner counties until 10:30 local time. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a let me try to say that again. I'm going a little fast here, but a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located there. It looks like over Beggs, moving northeast at about 40 miles per hour. If I'm pronouncing that right there, in toward parts of northeastern Oklahoma. Again, a tornado warning just being issued by the office there in Tulsa. You can see that circulation right there. You can see some of that wind enhancement and now a tornado warning in play getting into towards South Tulsa County until 10:30 local time. So we'll see that pop on up here in just a moment on our mapping, obviously. Watching this area down here. And that circulation going to be tracking on off toward the northeast at about 40 miles an hour. So just got to be kind of aware here. I know we have Glenpool and Bixby there. Got to be kind of watching that area, it looks like, as well here as we're tracking this. As we're tracking this weather situation, this circulation here, you kind of see here, those are areas that go east of Tulsa, but I still got to be mindful of this as it does track on off. Maybe the word broken arrow over the next little bit. We'll just have to wait and see. But something to definitely watch here as we're watching everything. I know getting different reports here about different things with some tornado warning activity. So just kind of monitoring everything as it does matriculate. Let's get back over to our Dallas radar real quick here and show you what's happening off this. You'll be able to see the line of wind going through Plano, Garland, University Park, Dallas, Cedar Hill there. And then there's possible circulation here toward the south. Waxahachie under a tornado warning. This is south of Midlothian, it looks like. But again, watching the circulation here, some of that wind going toward the radar there in the Dallas metro, and then some other wind going away from the radar. And that means could have a tornado reaching the surface here. So got to be kind of careful with this, taking those tornado precautions there, taking your tornado precautions toward Banks there, and that tornado warning here is for Wagner, Okmulgee, and Tulsa counties. I know the track is from Bixby to the southeastern Broken Arrow area. As previous evolutions had the original turning left before dissipated, they don't count on a straight track. Things are kind of evolving, moving around on us a little, so got to be careful there as we're looking up toward the north. So, two tornado warnings now. Nothing maybe with considerable damage potential at the moment, but strong winds can be dangerous. Tornadoes can be dangerous, obviously. Even if they're of the lower end variety, they can be deadly, especially at night. That's when you have a lot of your tornado fatalities. So, got to be really careful. Mobile homes are dangerous to be in, even in a weak tornado or damaging wind scenario, destructive wind scenario, especially. So, just got to be aware of everything that can go along with the different hazards here. Again, a possible tornado near Beggs there, and then another possible tornado to the south. I know one reason you might be wondering about some of this action in the north, may get some type of warning up there, but the temperatures are cool to the north, so that will be a limiting factor here in getting stuff for the surface. But as I say that, we now are going to get a severe thunderstorm warning for the North Tulsa metro. So that's going to be coming on out now. So there must be enough of a concern here that's going to be something to watch more, maybe toward Collinsville here in toward this area. Things kind of coming together here pretty quick now as we're looking toward the north. So seeing some wind enhancement there. So got to be kind of careful with that. We'll continue to watch things. We'll continue to monitor the situation. Be back at the bottom of the hour with more. A new severe thunderstorm warning now here, and they're actually going a little further north here with this. This is a new severe thunderstorm warning here as we get toward parts of Nowata as well as Osage, Rogers, Tulsa, and Washington counties until 11 o'clock local time. So watching this, within this, there is a hail tag for hail, maybe upward of about 9/10 of an inch in diameter, but maybe not a tornado possible tag, but in a high-end wind environment, any low-level circulation could catch hold. So that's what Weather Service is telling us. They got to be kind of careful with that. We'll be back here at 30 past the hour with more, unless something prompts us to come on sooner. Some different reports coming out of power pole issues. I know that's down towards some of these different areas here in the state of Oklahoma. Got a couple tornado watches, 3 in fact in play, that are still going. So folks will have to be on guard here throughout the night, and we'll be here hopefully for one last cut in at the bottom of the hour. But of course, if we need to stay on longer, come on later, we will do that, of course, as we watch things. I know there'll be a threat, a lower threat tomorrow toward parts of those areas near St. Louis, Chicago. Then another threat emerging off toward the west of this on Tuesday. So kind of an active pattern, especially for October, but we've got you covered. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour, continuing to watch the severe weather situation toward Texas and Oklahoma here. Down to 4 tornado warnings. We did just get up there pretty high in that number a second ago. Some of those warnings for the same storm, of course, but we're down to 4 at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and look at things here. We have 1 tornado warning here as we get down toward Ennis. This is a tornado warning for central Ellis County until 11 o'clock Central Time. Luckily, not getting a lot of debris signatures so far tonight, but even if I wrap this covered up here in a few minutes, which is the plan, make sure you have multiple ways to get alerts here. If you're under a tornado watch or just in this general area here as we're looking off a little toward the east as well, because we still could have something spin up here. Tornado, any type of tornado is still serious on that local level, or I mean, something more serious, more dramatic could end up spinning on up. It's not out of the question still with the parameters that are out there. I know we have some of these risk areas on the screen, but I'll pop up some of our tornado parameters as we go ahead and see that right now. You see they're pretty significant. I mean, granted, these storms are kind of clustered together, which could limit that threat some, but still just something to kind of be mindful of here over the next little bit as we continue to monitor the situation. A couple other tornado warnings as we get closer to McAllister there. I know we had some pretty tight rotation in this area. A tornado warning as we're getting off toward the west. This is for Hughes County there, and then another tornado warning for parts of McIntosh and Pittsburgh County there as well. So continuing to watch that from that perspective. I know that 1 tornado warning storm we're tracking toward the north is something to monitor as well. Southeast of Tulsa, there's a tornado warning for at least a little bit of Tulsa and Wagner County there. So something to kind of be mindful of. And then as we switch on over to radar scope, I do want to give you guys a look here at the close-in radar of what's going on here, different type of perspective on what is happening here as we look down toward the south. We'll try to give you guys that vantage point on what's going on as I'm getting a lot of new information streaming on in toward the side right now. Again, just continuing to track the overall scenario here at large, trying to see exactly what is going on here. I know seeing circulation here in parts of this area toward Ellis County, Texas. Possible rotation there, moving on off, staying south of the Dallas County area right now, and may end up doing that. You see some of the worst of the wind here toward Garland, toward Wilmer, moving toward Forney, Mesquite there. You kind of get the idea. So again, just trying to give you guys an idea of what's going on here within that mode of the radar. We'll go ahead and zoom back out again, see what else is going on. You see the Thunderstorm Warning, almost not exactly continuous, but almost a continuous line of these for over 300 miles from south to north. So kind of telling that weather story here this evening as we're watching things move on off. Now we're getting close to getting the tornado warning area here. The different warnings, I should say, out of this moderate risk zone for tornadic activity, as the wind risk is in a pretty similar spot actually, but we're going to continue to watch things to see how they progress here, of course, as the evening does go on. But right now, we've been pretty lucky in terms of tornadic action so far, but we still had some damage, still some local issues that are a pretty big deal. And as I say that, there's a small correlation coefficient drop there with the circulation southwest of Leonard. So let me go ahead and pop that up here. We're going to go ahead and pop this up on our other mode here. Not what you want to hear. This is southeast of Broken Arrow now. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're talking about. A confirmed tornado on the ground now as we're looking southeast of Leonard. Going to have to keep on watching this situation. Nothing really impressive in terms of that debris signature, but at least a little something trying to emerge. Going to go to a terminal radar here to look at the circulation within this area to try to get an idea of what's going on here. We'll go ahead and look at that. You kind of get an idea here of what is going on in this vicinity. Again, you can see here winds maybe 70 miles an hour or so. So kind of giving you an idea of some of those winds maybe reaching the surface, maybe a weaker tornado, not lofting that debris is high, but still a tornado is a danger, and the local affiliates will be covering that threat. Again, a strong tornado threat still there to some extent. Don't let your guard down, but we are going to wrap this covered up as at least the worst of this moving away from Dallas, already moving out of Oklahoma City there. And Tulsa, well, Tulsa has been getting spared in the metro for downtown per se, but some outlying areas seeing issues, some of those communities, as you see the activity kind of moving away here. Muskogee still, McAllister still under a threat, Hugo. You get the idea. Fort Smith and Fayetteville and toward Arkansas as well. Even Joplin there, right on the end of a threat as well. So again, I'm just going to continue to watch things here as the situation evolves. If we need to break back in, I will. I mean, there is a confirmed tornado on the ground right now toward Tulsa and Wagner counties. They're talking about how a small type velocity couplet with the small CC drop. So probably a tornado there on the ground here toward Leonard in this area here. So we're going to go ahead and look at some other radars. I know we have some different viewpoints we can go to right now. Going back over to the Tulsa site, the primary one, you can see some of that spin here within this, getting that new scan here of the Doppler in as we continue to watch things, watching our debris detection software. Nothing too impressive, but still something to be mindful of with a tornado warning in play. Kind of giving another scan or so here just to make sure things don't really ramp up on us, but we do have some circulation here that's pretty nasty. This is a pretty rural area right now, though. We'll have to watch closer to the radar site, though, later on there. So that's something to monitor for sure. Got to be kind of cognizant of that, as this is kind of sticking out just a little bit here toward Leonard. You see these warnings, quite a few of them on the board here. And again, a confirmed tornado here as we're getting toward part of this area, Tulsa, Wagner County, not Tulsa Metro, but circulation here right on that line. We've had debris signatures, so that wind translating, maybe some more debris being picked up here, possibly. Small tornado could be continuing, though, as we're continuing to track this situation. So I know we've been on for a while. We've had a lot of really bad type damage reports, and that hail and Norman was significant, and some significant things in isolated spots. So still a big deal for some folks. I know weather impacting that a Kansas City Buffalo NFL game tonight here too, and maybe more weather even coming into the picture here as we're looking with lightning, not necessarily severe weather up that way, as they're a little bit cooler in that vicinity as we pull up the temperatures. You can see the temperature contrast here, one of the big weather stories as well, but we're going to see those temperatures will increase some as we look ahead because of the severe threat coming toward Tuesday here, unfortunately toward parts of maybe western Oklahoma and western Kansas, that general vicinity possibly. We'll have to nail that down more tomorrow to talk about it in our full update, but also going to be watching here a threat tomorrow towards St. Louis, towards Chicago, those general areas as this threat kind of translates on off here. So again, we're going to keep on tracking things right now. 3 tornado warnings on the board, the one for Tulsa and Wagner, the one for Ellis in Texas, and then in between we have McIntosh and Pittsburgh counties there in Oklahoma. So just going to keep on watching things. I know we're kind of repetitive at this point, but you can always go to cloudweather.com/radar for the latest. NWS Tornado is a good Twitter account to follow as well for all the tornado warnings in the country. The local weather service office is the local affiliates. Circulation near Leonard, maybe another one trying to emerge, it seems. So going to be something for those local areas to watch. If something rises to a tornado emergency type level, we'll break back in. We'll tweet about stuff if necessary. In between, on Cloud Casey there, that account on Twitter. So you can follow that for the very latest. No local severe threats, local weather not a hazard, really, in terms of anything here over the next few days. That's the good news. But just thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me here on this Sunday night. If something else breaks, we'll be on it if it's a really big deal, but the local affiliates will be critical here as we watch things, and I can always tweet about different scenarios as they arise as well. As we still have the tornado watch in play here, a couple of them until about 2 a.m. Central Time, so the threat's not over. Make sure you have multiple ways to get alerts here. And just, again, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great night.